Well, first, let me apologize because you might hear some traffic. I don't usually have my balcony doors open when I do a video, but it's a little warm and I just needed to air out my place a little bit. But I just got out of watching the movie Supergirl with Millie Alcock. And this might be terribly inconvenient for some people out there, but she's the best thing about the movie. She's great. She looks great as Supergirl or Kara. Her performance is excellent. Lots of personality. I admit her little cameo at the end of last year's Superman. I wasn't sure what to make of her, but actually I think again she was absolutely excellent in this film. When I say she's the best thing about the film, that is absolutely as much a compliment to her as it is maybe some issues with the movie itself. I do kind of like this movie more than last year's Superman. But then again, I'm also a sucker for any movie that features, heroines. Big fan of Tomb Raider, big fan of the Angelina Jolie movie Salt. Charlie's Angels. I do like movies about heroic women for whatever reason. I will say this movie seems to suffer from what so many comic book movies today suffer from. And I guess I'll get to that in a minute. But let me give you the positives. Again, Millie Alcock, pretty much all the performances are good. When they isolate certain fight scenes in the film, particularly with Supergirl, I think they're well done, especially when the scene is well lit. There's a couple of fight scenes that aren't well lit, but when the scene is well lit and it really focuses on one fight in particular, it does a good job with the special effects, keeping you invested in that sort of thing. And there are some nice moments in this film. These nice moments do make me wish they concentrated more on those type of moments. So, for example, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a flashback scene in the film where she's looking out the window at Metropolis, at the cityscape, and, she's just getting accustomed to being able to hear so many things because she's got that super hearing. And so she's just hearing lots and lots of noise. So she puts on her headphones and listens to some music, cranks it up real loud. And then sort of sits back in the bed. And I like the way just that one small scene was illustrating her struggle with life on Earth because she just wasn't accustomed to life on Earth. Because as we see in other flashbacks, she kind of grew up not on Krypton, but on an offshoot of Krypton. There's a city that somehow survived the big Krypton explosion, and so she ends up being born and grows up at least until young adulthood on Krypton. So she's coming on Earth. She's coming to Earth, not speaking English or Earthling, any language on Earth, and so she has to learn a new language. But that's just it. We skip over a lot of her adjustment period, but just that one scene was very nice, and it really made me want more of that. Like, I feel like the film kind of should have been about that. And because it also feels like that the filmmakers did a good job with those moments too. It's almost like the filmmakers almost wanted to make a film like that, but they knew they had to have a lot of action. They had to have a villain. They had to have a bunch of action sequences and fight sequences. So, they had to do a lot of that stuff too. Yeah, I kind of like all the flashbacks. I like the Krypton flashbacks. I like the actors playing Kara's parents. So those were the good things. Oh, also, I do like the little lived-in vehicle that we see, basically where Kara lives. It looks like kind of a spaceship Winnebago, like an RV. It's like an RV, but that flies. And I like the way it looked. I like the exterior. I like the interior. Like I say, it really looks lived in. And so I liked that aspect too. So I gotta go. I gotta tell you about the negatives now. When it comes to action sequences, I feel like maybe the problem with these James Gunn movies, and believe me, I am no Zack Snyder fan either. This has nothing to do with comparisons with Zack Snyder or any other, anything like that. But problem with this Gillespie person, I know they've made some good films in the past, but it feels like they don't know how to make films like this. So it feels like bad filmmaking, bad screenwriting, and bad filmmaking. Like I say, when they're directing a singular action sequence, it's pretty good. Again, a couple of fight sequences with Supergirl and her, some of the villains are really well done, but the problem is it's like they don't have the confidence to just stay with the one fight scene. You have an action sequence here, but they've got a second action sequence somewhere else, and then they got a third action sequence somewhere else. And so we're hopping around from one action sequence to the next action sequence to the next action sequence and back, and it's all very confusing. It's like they believe that all viewers have attention deficit disorder, and that somehow we're not able to follow one singular action sequence. But it's all over the place. One moment Kara's fighting a bunch of dudes, and next we go to the young girl, the young character who's hanging on a rope, and then we go to the Lobo character, who's doing his thing. It's all just too much. It's all over the place. What is the problem here? And when you do that, you can't focus on any one action sequence. You just can't do it. Mercifully, like I say, there's a couple of fight scenes where they finally linger a little bit on the one fight. And that's when the movie really excels in its action sequences. So it's frustrating because Millie's performance deserves better than a lot of what I saw today. Like I say, I like it a little bit better than Superman, but that's not saying much because I almost hated Superman last year, and I never did a video on that, and it's just as well. But this one, I dare say, Millie Alcott's performance is even more rewarding than any of the performances in Superman, so maybe that's the reason why I give it the edge. But I don't really love where these superhero films, and where a lot of films in general are the direction they're headed. It's just a lot of quick edits. It's a lot of let's throw a bunch of stuff at you, especially a bunch of fake stuff at you, CGI-laden action sequences, and it could be my age too. I grew up with De Palma, with Spielberg, with Scorsese, with Alan Parker, with great filmmakers who knew how to take their time, who knew how to focus on individual scenes. And here I feel like we have a bunch of amateurs who've been given hundreds of millions of dollars to make the next comic book movie. And that's what we're seeing in today's, Marvel, but especially some of these DC films. And it makes me sad. Finally, I just got to say something about Crypto, the digital dog. Is it bad that I kind of wish they did the old John Wick to this dog early in the film? I love dogs. I love real dogs, right? It's great to see a loving, very affectionate puppy dog when it's real. The digital dog, I'm sorry. I kind of wish they John Wicked it early in the film, and that could have also progressed the plot a little bit. I don't know. I guess I was hoping that there would be a lot less of crypto in this movie than there was in Superman, and I guess there is a big chunk of the film where we don't see crypto for a while. But when he is in the film, let me tell you, that digital mutt really makes the most of his time. And it's a little frustrating for those of us who just don't buy into this fake dog. So, in conclusion, I find the movie pretty mediocre. The one thing I hate to do is to rate or review a film for what it wasn't. I'd much rather prefer to give my opinion of the film as it is, for what it is. But darn it, when a movie teases you with moments that would have made the film better had they, concentrated on those moments or, expounded on them, you can't help but think of what might have been. So I feel like there are lots of missed opportunities in Supergirl. Maybe future Supergirl films or future DC films that have Millie Alcott as Supergirl. Maybe they will give her some good opportunities. But in the meantime, I was pretty meh leaving the theater. But none of that, and I want to make this clear, none of that is the fault of Millie Alcott.